Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big 5-0, the 50th episode of LA Rams Central. I'm very excited. I got my my twin brother from a different mother, Eric Lewicki. Go ahead and say hey.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So we're good to go. I know I'm pretty excited about this because we're going to do a Week 1 recap, and then we're going to cover all the games, but not in detail. We're only going to cover 3 games each in detail. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand that. So I'm going to cover the Chiefs and Patriots, the Cardinals and Lions, and then I'm going to cover the Redskins and Eagles. Obviously, we're going to cover the Ram game, but that's at the end. Eric, what 3 games are you going to cover?
I'm going to cover Chicago and Atlanta. Came down to the wire. I'm going to cover the Vikings and Saints, and I'm also going to cover the Seahawks and Packers. Now, if you think I have a thing for the NFC North, well, you might be right, but it's the only games we really got out here.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And then at the end, we're also going to then cover the Ram game together and just kind of what we talked about. Eric was able to see it, which was really cool. And then we're going to do our Week 2 predictions. We're going to be quick. We're going to go through them. It's not going to be like last week. We're not going to go into too much extensive detail on it because games have been played and we're kind of moving forward. And then I'm going to do a rant and Eric's going to do a rant. Now, I don't know what Eric's rant's going to be on, but mine's going to be on the stadium. So that's where I'm at. So let's do this. Now, first off the bat, we'll start with the Thursday night game, the Chiefs at the Patriots. Now, as you know, Eric, I've liked Alex Smith for a long time.
Right.
I've always been a fan of him, ever since his, him and Harbaugh started working together in San Fran. I thought he got screwed when they pulled him out and put in Kaepernick because I thought he was really starting to come into his own. So I was a little irritated with that. But I always kind of liked him. And then when he went to Kansas City, and I know everyone calls him Captain Checkdown, but he took what the defense gave him and he did well with it. So for me, I'm not surprised that Alex Smith played as well as he did against New England. I'm also not surprised that he went downfield more because the Patriots secondary, which was suspect last year and was proof in the Super Bowl, became suspect again in the preseason, and Alex Smith figured, what the heck, I got this Mahomes kid behind me, I'm going to launch it deep. What really impressed me is Kansas City said before the game, to beat Tom Brady, you got to get in his face, pressure him, get up the middle. The Chiefs did that, and they did it really well in the second half, and they got after the football. They also ran the ball exceptionally well because once Devontae Hightower was out of the game, this entire defense took on a different complexion, and they had no answer for the running game. Now, I like Bill Parcells of the New York Giants, which is Bill Belichick's protege, and I have a lot of respect for Bill Belichick. But as a coach, you can only do so much if you don't have talent. Eventually, with all the injuries and all the guys that they let go and all the guys they didn't retain, and they didn't focus on the defense side of the ball to retain all of those money guys on offense, you get a 198-yard rushing day or whatever, a 198 total offensive day by this kid from Kansas City. It's not a surprise to me that they got torched on the ground because outside of Devontae Hightower, they don't have Wolfolk anymore. They don't have any real presence on the D-line. And the linebacking core, which was already weak, became weaker, and their secondary suspect. Was I surprised the Chiefs won? Yes. Was I surprised the game was close? No. And you guys remember from the Week 1 predictions, between me and Eric, I said the game would be close. I didn't necessarily pick the Chiefs to win, but I didn't expect the Patriots to put a 40-burger on them and them score nothing. So I wasn't surprised on that front. Here's where I'm impressed with Kansas City. I'm impressed for 3 reasons. One, their ability to run the ball, and this kid I think is the real deal, and we'll find out this week. Their pass protection for Alex Smith was amazing. And Alex Smith, to be able to go downfield is big. But there's one glaring omission, and that omission is Barry. And that's my only concern with the Chiefs moving forward. Overall, 42-27, second most points scored in Week 1 by a football team. Kudos to the Chiefs. They surprised everyone, and I hopefully shut a lot of mouths. What did you think, E?
Well, you touched on a lot of great points, and I'm glad you brought up Devontae Hightower, because I think that was, as soon as he went out of the game, I thought that was a huge blow for the Patriots defense. But you know what? You have to give credit where credit's due. I did not see that kind of line coming from Alex Smith. Over 300 yards passing. He had 3 or 4 touchdowns. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the Patriots had some problems in the secondary, and so that's why Tyreek Hill was so wide open. And I don't think there was anybody to overthrow him or even underthrow him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So as soon as he was wide open, I mean, it was, hey, just throw that ball, let him catch it, he's walking in no matter what. The other throw I was really impressed with was when Alex Smith hit Kareem Hunt right in stride. If he hits him on his stride, he probably gets tackled, but he hit him in stride, and Hunt went for the touchdown. Barely got in, but you know what? Doesn't matter if it's barely got in because he got in. So the Chiefs really impressed me, and I'm glad you also hit on right at the end of your what you were saying was that Eric Berry. That's going to be a big blow to their secondary. One of the great safeties in the league. I feel bad because he did miss a year 2 years ago, I believe.
Leukemia.
From I believe it was fight with cancer that he was getting treatment for. So they're really going to miss him, but there's enough guys on that defense to step up. And they're going to be pumped this week because it's a little revenge factor for Andy Reid against the Eagles when they come to town. But, yeah, we're going to see what the Chiefs are made of, especially at home. I think they're a lot better at home. That crowd is going to be raucous at Arrowhead, loudest outdoor stadium in the league. And we'll see what kind of damage they do at home, because I think Kareem Hunt, if he has another great game, he's the real deal. And, Chris Conley stepped up in a big way. And Tyreek Hill is still a monster. So, the Chiefs could easily go 2-0.
Yeah, we'll get to the picks, and I don't disagree with you at all on that. Now, Buffalo, New York, funny, Buffalo, New York Jets. Not Buffalo, New York, although Buffalo does play in New York. I was really impressed with Clay's play, the tight end for Buffalo in that game. I'm not going to get a lot of detail on the Buffalo game. I'm just going to kind of skim it because, again, it's not one of the games we're covering, but we did pick Buffalo. And I think Buffalo played about as well as you can expect against a weaker team. You've got Atlanta, Chicago. E, you're up.
All right, well, kind of a tough game. I mean, I always thought the Bears were going to lose game 1 against the Falcons, especially when the schedule came out. I actually thought the Bears were going to get blown out. Julio Jones would have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Boy, was I wrong. That's the best part about football. We said the Patriots were going to win. What do we know? But we picked Atlanta, and you know what? You got to give credit where credit's due. Again, watching this game, the Bears used Tarek Cohen like the Chiefs used Tyreek Hill last year. The only thing that Cohen doesn't do is return kicks. Now, the Bears have their version of Devontae Freeman and Kevin Coleman in there, Jordan Howard and Cohen. See, the problem, though, with the Bears, they have nobody to throw the ball to. Kevin White, 5 games played in 3 years. That is not what you want out of a first-round pick for a wide receiver. So their pass catchers now are Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen out of the backfield. They have Marcus Wheaton if his finger ever gets healthy. They have Zach Miller. They have that Shaheem kid, tight end from South Alabama that they drafted, who's supposed to be a monster. He's going to see a lot of PP this week. And their other wide receiver is escaping me at the moment. That is how little depth that they had in wide receiver. The Bears had a great fight. They were 5 yards away from scoring a touchdown, tying the game, and an extra point for winning. They had 2 drop balls, and of course on 4th down they get sacked. And Glennon did a great job. He did not turn the ball over, and he's going to make people forget about Cutler as they transition to Trubisky from Glennon. Okay? And Cutler set a lot of Bears records. I think a lot of those Bears records are going to be broken by this Trubisky kid once he finally settles himself and gets in and has some guys to throw to. Let's look at the other side of the ball. I think you saw a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover from Atlanta. They only won by 6 points, but they were on the road. So a road victory is huge for any team. So the Falcons were still in sync. they just ran up against a good front seven for the Bears line. They didn't allow Freeman or Coleman to have a lot of room after they got the ball. They had one blown coverage with the 88-yard touchdown catch and run by Austin Hooper. Other than that, if that doesn't happen, I know it's a big if, but the Bears win that game.
Yeah.
Can you claim moral victory? Maybe, maybe not. But the Bears are going to be, I don't want to say a force, but they're going to be competitive in a lot of games. I had them pegged going 3-13. I might have to change that. They got a big test on the road this week. So what I saw the Bears against Atlanta, there's some hope for this year. But again, I'm not getting my hopes up. But the Falcons, on the other hand, they got off to a good start getting their home win. They got a big game this weekend. So they're not coming home 0-1. They're coming home 1-0.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say on that game is I don't want it to be an overreaction. Chicago played well. They played better than anyone, at least better than we expected. But I don't think that's a moniker. I think the idea of playing the defending champs, week one, everyone's healthy, you're home, you're on grass where the Falcons aren't as good. I don't think it's a true measure of how good the Bears are going to be, or necessarily where the Falcons are really at. We'll find out against Green Bay this week on Sunday night, which I'm excited to watch that game. First Sunday night game in a long time I've been pumped up to watch. So I don't know what it tells us, but what it tells me is the Chiefs, they keep calling the Chiefs, the Falcons are 1-0. The Bears are 0-1, and it took to form for us because that's what we thought was going to happen. And look, the Rams last year, they played really well in a lot of games. They beat the Seahawks 9-3. How did they end up? 4-12. So let's not overreact here.
That's why I said, can you claim moral victory? Yeah, maybe not. I mean, there's no moral victories in football. There's only wins and losses.
Right, and I just think there's too much football. Now, I'm going to touch a little bit on Baltimore, Cincinnati. You touch on Pittsburgh and Cleveland, then I'll go into depth on the Cardinals-Lions. Baltimore at Cincinnati. I'm not, as I said before, and I want you to do your prediction on the Houston-Cincinnati game here too really quick. But let me say this first. There were 3 stadiums last week that didn't have, that had a lot of empty seats, okay? One of them had an excuse. The other one didn't have an excuse, except for the fact they're a bad football team, and the Bengals had no excuse. But they had fewer fans in their seats than the Rams had tickets sold for week one. The Rams sold 60,551 tickets. The Bengals only had 45,000 people show up. Is that a concern? No one's talking about the Bengals fans and them not showing up to the game. I don't think that had anything to do with the loss, though. As I said earlier on episode 49, you have these moments, okay? They happen. The Steelers in 1989, as I said before, went to the NFC divisional playoff game via the wild card route after starting off the first 2 games of the regular season 0-2 with 2 home losses to division opponents by a combined 92-10 score, okay? And they still ended up going 9-7 and making the playoffs. So I'm not putting that as the Bengals are done. They looked bad in that game. Andy Dalton threw too many picks. They just didn't look like – they looked like they thought Baltimore was going to roll over, and they didn't. The Bengals lost. It happens. We'll see what happens tonight. Do your prediction really quick. Houston and Cincinnati. I know you're picking the Bengals. I told the fans that yesterday, but tell us why.
Well, I'm picking the Bengals mainly because I think this is a huge game for Cincinnati. Is it going to be tough moving the ball on Houston defensively? Yeah, I think so. But here is the best part for Cincinnati. They don't have to wait a week. They only had to wait 4 days to play again. And yes, I know, turning around, playing 4 days, you don't get the proper rest, you don't have the proper practice time, yada, 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 whatever. They got a bad loss early. 4 days later, they're turning around, they're playing again. And with Houston starting a rookie quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who I am pumped up to see. I hope the kid does really well. I do. I really do. I think he should have been the first quarterback drafted off the board, but, that's neither here nor there. I'm excited to see him play, but I think it's going to be, hey, kid, wait your time. get your victories, and I think Cincinnati's hungry to come out, establish a run with one of their three mid-monster running backs, because they all did actually pretty decent. Mainly Bernard, Hill and Mixon were mixed in, but if Dalton starts hitting AJ Green, and he's got to throw more than he's got to have his tight end Tyler Eifert catch more than one ball for 4 yards, because that hurt him last week too. You know, it didn't help that Dalton was throwing like 3-4 picks throughout the whole game. I looked up, I swear I saw another pick by Dalton every single time. So he gets a bad game out of his way. Dalton and the Bengals roll. They beat the Texans tonight.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about it, but I figured you'd mention the fact that road teams on Thursday night are terrible.
Well, that's why a rookie quarterback starting on the road, technically his first start. I just don't see the Texans pulling this one out unless they have like the greatest defensive game in their life, and Watson hands the ball off to Lamar Miller 70 times tonight.
Okay, so your second game that you wanted to cover, we're not there yet, but I'm going to go ahead and let you just kind of do the coverage of the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game. All I'm going to say is I was right. I told you so, and I'll leave it at that. Go.
Well, yeah, you were right that Cleveland was going to lose. But Cleveland made it competitive.
Yep.
I thought that the Steelers were very wary in letting Le'Veon Bell loose. Might have been because he didn't report to the Steelers until September 1st right before he signed his franchise tag. That could have had a lot to do with it. But that Ben Roethlisberger and Tony Brown connection is still lethal. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It doesn't matter who else you put. You could put three guys on Brown, he's still going to get open. So Martavis Bryant, whoever else they have at wide receiver, it doesn't matter. And when you're not throwing Antonio Brown, you're dumping off 2 touchdown passes to Jesse James or tight end.
Yep.
So the Steelers did enough to win the game. You know, Cleveland is. You can see Cleveland starting to turn that corner, and if Kaiser keeps improving, the Browns are going to get there in a couple of years. I'm not saying this year, I'm not saying next year, but give it a couple of years. Mm-hmm. They just need to get Crowell going, and they need to get some consistency at wide receiver. They have one in Corey Coleman. They just need somebody opposite of him that's not going to be trouble. Yeah. And what they really also need too, don't get me wrong, I think they might have been able to pull that game out if Myles Garrett was healthy, but they need him big time on the defense.
And as far as Jesse James goes, who picked him up to put him on his fantasy team this week?
Whatever. He's going to put up a 0 for you.
Okay, we'll see, buddy. We'll see. All right. Arizona at Detroit. I thought the Cardinals were going to win this game. Everything that you need to know about the Cardinals happened in week 1. Is Carson Palmer back? Well, the 2016 Carson Palmer is back, which is not the one the fans wanted to see. David Johnson get a load of this, Eric. I charted the first 20 plays by the Arizona Cardinals. Okay? 19 of them went to David Johnson. The one that didn't was a pick. He was almost 100% of their offense. He went down. The Cardinals are screwed. Like, I knew when that game was 17-9 and Johnson went down, game over. Cardinals were done. And, you know, as much as I rag on Detroit, man, you got to put this team away in the first 3 quarters, because if they're anywhere near it, they're just going to say, screw it, you know, Bradford. Why am I spacing on his name? Stafford, thank you. Stafford, just take us home. And he does it with receivers no one ever heard of. So I don't think that's going to be a recipe of success in the future. But against teams like...
Never heard of Golden Tate?
No, Golden Tate's garbage. I don't want to hear Golden Tate. But, you know, the bottom line is the guy can cut. He can cut the rope, dude. He can just yoke it all over the field. And it doesn't matter who's on the other end. He can get it to him. And provided these guys don't drop the ball, Detroit has a very real chance at least winning 7 to 8 games. Because of that quarterback. I think Stafford earned every dollar he was paid this offseason. I'm not saying I'm impressed with the Lions' win, because I'm not. But I am impressed with Stafford. But this football team can't run, and they can't play defense. That's going to be a problem down the road. That's my assessment.
Golden Tate, 10 catches, 107 yards. I mean, if you haven't heard of Golden Tate, you're not a Notre Dame fan, I guess.
Oh, whatever. You know I'm a Notre Dame fan.
Anyways, yeah, I agree with that. You know who this has happened a lot last year and this year too. You know who the Lions remind me of in the second half of games? They remind me of the 2015 Jacksonville Jaguars, who would throw it all over the field in the latter half of the third quarter and fourth quarter and rack up points.
Yeah.
The only difference is the Lions are winning these games, and the Jaguars didn't win those games.
Well, and that's where I got to give the Lions credit. Their defense is playing well.
And better wide receivers than Stafford has right now. I mean, yeah, you got Golden Tate, you have the rookie Kenny Galladay, you have Marvin Jones, who was with Cincinnati a couple years ago. Eric Ebron, their tight end, should be a monster, but I mean, he's hurt 3/4 of the time. You know, their three running backs, Riddick, Abdullah, and Max Zenner. Yeah, this is why Stafford was paid the money he was paid, because he's the guy who's got to lead it down the field. The running backs aren't going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
but you're right. You're right on the Cardinals. I mean, I thought they'd have a better game. I thought their schedule at the beginning of the season was a little bit easier, and that Palmer was talked about sleeper candidate for really having a good year. But you know, when you're starting to throw picks after picks after picks left and right, you're showing your age. That's not a recipe for success.
Yeah. Okay, Jacksonville at Houston. I'm just going to touch on this briefly. I think that had to do more with the hurricane and the Texans' minds on something else than the Jacksonville Jaguars football team. I need to see more than 1 week. It's kind of like the Rams. I'm excited about the way they played against Indy, but this is a true measuring stick against Washington. I'm not discrediting the Colts completely like everyone else is, and I went on a rant on that yesterday. But I do think there's a little bit more ready-made excuse here for Houston than there was for Indy. They just had Hurricane Harvey. I mean, their mind's elsewhere. I'm sorry, it has to be. So I don't really chalk up a lot to that game. We'll see what Jacksonville does down the road. Really quick, I'm going to let you cover the Tennessee Titans and the Oakland Raider game. And again, just brief. Don't go into too much detail. But I heard the dumbest thing watching that game. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
These are two of the prime nominees for Comeback Player of the Year. Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota.
You can't be Comeback Player of the Year if you missed one game.
Thank you. That was my point. I'm like, are you kidding me? I lost my mind when I heard that.
Carr missed 2 or 3 the most, and Mariota broke his leg in week 16. So you're not going to be Comeback Player of the Year for that.
Thank you. I agree, but there you go again. Stupid idiots have jobs that shouldn't have jobs and claim to be experts, saying the dumbest crap you ever heard. Okay, touch on the Oakland-Tennessee game really quick, because this was a fun game.
You know, I picked Tennessee to win, but Derek Carr, the way he throws the football and the way he hits his receivers in stride, especially that 17-yard touchdown pass to put him ahead to Seth Roberts, I believe it was, he is starting to remind me, and it pains me to say this because, I mean, he's a darn good quarterback, but he's starting to remind me of Aaron Rodgers with his precision. The only thing he needs to work on is that back shoulder pass and catch with his wide receivers.
Yeah.
Derek Carr could legitimately be the MVP this year.
Well, I'll tell you.
With a game like that going on the road, and a tough matchup against Tennessee, don't get me wrong, but Carr went up and down that field like it was nobody's business.
Well, I got to give.
They've got a great defense, and they're not going to miss Janikowski at all with him being on IR for 6-7 weeks.
Mm-mm. I got to give.
Kudos to the Raiders for being able to pull that one out.
Well, I got to give you credit, Eric. I'm the one that picked Tennessee. You picked Oakland. So, yeah, you picked Oakland. I picked Tennessee, but that was the game I expected it to be. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. That was 2 playoff teams going at it. It was fun to watch. Okay, Philadelphia at Washington. I'm going to start right now by saying this. I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles. They played a great game. They beat the Redskins in this game. There's no question. However, at the end of the game, the front replay, you clearly see Kirk Cousins release the football and Cox deflect it back in his face, and that's a fumble?
Yeah, that was a horrible call.
It was the worst call, and it's the worst call I've seen in 3 years. I mean, you had more than enough replay evidence to overturn that call, and they wouldn't overturn it. And who knows? Maybe Kirk Cousins drives him up the field and wins the game. But I will say this. So far, Eric, that's not been his MO. He's not a comeback quarterback. It's about 50-50. If they're close and they got to drive up the field to win the game, sometimes he does it, sometimes he doesn't. It seems like if there's 2 minutes or less in the game, he doesn't do it. And if you have 4 minutes or more in the game, he'll do it. But then he leaves enough time on the clock for the other guy. Now, we'll see if that trend continues, but I've noticed that. Look, the Redskins couldn't run the ball. They had no timing with their wide receivers. They looked exactly like they did 2 weeks earlier in the third preseason game against Green Bay. They looked terrible. And I remember watching it going, I know the Redskins will get it turned on, but I'm telling you, we both picked them to be the second wildcard team. Losing at home to Philly, unless they can go on the road and beat Philly in Philly, this is going to hurt.
Yeah, they're out of sync. Kelly didn't have a good game. Cousins didn't have a good game passing. The only two players on offense to really show up were Terrell Pryor Sr. and Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed was a monster like he always was. Pryor had his catches, dropped a couple too. But Crowder was non-existent. And, when you're throwing to Chris Thompson and Ryan Grant, those are your two leading receivers. You got problems elsewhere.
Yeah, and for me, my biggest takeaway from because I like the Redskins. That's my second favorite team. It always has been, always will be. And I'm watching the game and I'm going, what are we doing? Even defensively, they couldn't tackle anybody. Forget LeGarrette Blount. They couldn't tackle anybody, especially Carson Wentz. And I'm thinking to myself, how good of a game can Todd Gurley have this week? Now, tackling is one of those things you can shore up. So we'll see if they do. But that was a rough loss for the Redskins. And if Philadelphia ends up being the second wildcard team and the Redskins are the fourth in the division with an 8-8 record and Philly made it at 9-7, we're going to go back to this game. This was a big loss. Okay, Seattle at Green Bay. I'll say my piece. Floor is yours, buddy.
Yeah, well, watching this game, I was really watching it mainly for the Rodgers and Wilson matchup. But what I came away impressed with was actually both defenses on the team. Now, Rodgers is going to get his touchdowns, and he's going to throw 0 or 1 interception. Okay? But getting Sheldon Richardson from the Jets has helped the Seahawks defense. That'll help them with their pass deep. It's only one game, okay? You're not going to stop Rodgers and Nelson. That's a lethal combination. But the Packers' defense was on point throughout that whole game. I don't see how. I mean, I haven't seen the Packers' defense play that well in a long time. Seattle's defense was good, although, when you fumble at the 5-yard line and allow a touchdown on the next drive because you don't secure the ball as you're running away from a defender, Russell Wilson's going to remember that and actually tuck the ball next time, so he doesn't fumble. That hurt him there, too. But mainly it was a lot of, it was 2 touchdowns and a field goal for Green Bay and 3 field goals for Seattle. So I expect Seattle to tighten things up and score a lot more points than they did. But I think you're going to see that game come down to home field advantage in a playoff game. And they're going to end up going back to Green Bay.
I'm shaking my head no.
Seattle's offense kind of was nothing to sneeze at. Baldwin was non-existent. The running game was absolutely horrendous. The only guy to break out and actually have a decent game was Chris Carson, the rookie for Seattle. Lacey didn't do anything. Rawls is expected back this week, but Montgomery looked pretty good against Seattle, so maybe he can make that big transition from wide receiver to running back. So,
well, I'll tell you,
I mean,
I thought the game was a really well played defensive game. It felt like a 1980s style football game, and it was fun to watch. However, how bad is the Seattle Seahawks offensive line? Real bad.
They are pretty bad.
They're real bad. You are not going to get a 2 seed. You're not going to win your division with an offensive line like that. You might get a wild card. But you ain't getting a 2 seed with a line like that. Now, I know they got San Francisco this week, and everyone's going to go, look at the overreaction of the Seahawks offense. They played the Niners. I'm going to get to the Niners in a minute. However, there is no question that that offensive line is going to be their problem all year long, and I don't know, if they're ever going to get the running game going, and I'm actually praying at night. I know Ram fans aren't going to want to hear this. I'm actually praying at night for Russell Wilson because I want to see him finish the year. He's a good quarterback, and it's a guy that we want in this league. But my goodness, if he's not going to get protection, what's going to happen when it's Aaron Donald and Robert Quinn coming off the edge with Connor Barwin coming off the other side? I mean, the Rams were able to destroy the Seahawks offensive line last year in LA. Last year. What are they going to do this year with a better scheme in Wade Phillips? I mean, this is a problem for Seattle that they need to address. Now, they know they're going to get 2 wins against Arizona and 2 wins against San Fran. But they ain't getting 2 wins against LA. And now they got to start thinking, okay, we lost to Green Bay. How many games out of our division can we afford to lose? Because they don't have an easy schedule, Eric. So we'll see. I think Seattle proved they're definitely the second best team in the NFC in this regard. They played everyone's pick to be the number 1 seed. They're my pick to be number 2, by the way, not number 1. I'm picking Atlanta to be number 1. We'll find out on Sunday night. I digress. But I know a lot of people are picking the Seahawks to be the number 1 seed or 2 seed, and they definitely played a top-level team really tough. But, man, that offensive line has to improve. That's just my 2 cents. Carolina at San Francisco, I'm going to talk about this game, and then you got Dallas, New York to cover briefly, and then you go into depth on the Saints and the Vikings. And I won't touch the Cowboy game because I need more time to evaluate both of those football teams, and that's what Monday night's going to be for me. And the Sunday game between Denver and Dallas, which I think is going to be the most fun game to watch outside of the Rams and Redskins all week long. But Carolina put up 23 points. How long is the linebacker for San Francisco out, Eric?
From what I heard, a couple of weeks, but he's going to try to push to come back early. Reuben Foster.
Yeah, Reuben Foster is probably going to come back for the Thursday night game against the Rams.
That's the talk.
Yeah.
Who knows what Heidi.
They would be smart to sit him out one more week and then bring him back with 10 days rest in between after the second game and then only miss 2 as opposed to 4, but that's my opinion. Look, Carolina scares the hell out of me now. I was most impressed with the Rams on Sunday. Like, the most impressive team was Kansas City. But on the Sunday games, it went Rams and Carolina, and here's why. Man, Cam Newton is hurting. And look at what they were able to do offensively. Stewart, McCaffrey, Benjamin, that defense. Carolina is going to be a tough, tough team to beat this year. And they went into San Francisco and won a game they should have won, but they didn't just win it, they dominated that game. San Fran barely looked like a professional football team on Sunday. And I don't think that the 49ers are that bad, but Carolina made them look that bad, and that's a credit to them. I really liked what I saw from Cam Newton. Maybe the injury is going to be a good thing for him because it kept him in the pocket more. He did more reads. He didn't get as much on the deep balls he wanted to because he couldn't step into it. But he did run less, and I think that'll keep him upright, which ultimately for Panther fans is all that matters, right?
Right. Yeah, the Panthers just need to keep him off the ground, hand the ball off as much as possible, throw when you need to. Let your receivers know, hey, we're going to keep Cam healthy this year. Cam, you do not run. You do not injure yourself more. Hand the ball off. This is why we got McCaffrey. This is why we have Stewart. And if we have to do crossing routes and we might not do a lot of deep balls for a few more weeks. So, yeah, just adhere to what Cam can do and what he can't.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah.
And if you have to grind out wins, grind out wins. If you have to air it out, after he starts feeling better, air it out. Let it go.
I mean, they got a complete team. They really do. Okay, Dallas at home against New York. Go.
Okay, well.
Again,
Be
brief.
New York to not have Odell Beckham Jr. That was a big cog missing in their offensive lineup. Everyone else was non-existent. Manning was running for his life. He was throwing footballs to where he could barely get a completion. I think he had one completion to Brandon Marshall, and if that continues, Marshall's going to be toxic in that locker room from what happened in Denver, Chicago, Miami, or those 3 spots, and even New York when he was with the Jets. So they have to find some consistency on offense. Their defense might keep them in games for a while, but if you can't score,
You can't
you're
win.
not going to win.
Yeah, ask the
They
Rams
need a
that.
running back who can at least carry the ball and hold on to the ball. And maybe they call up New Orleans and offer a fifth-round pick for Adrian Peterson. Okay? Who knows? But is Perkins going to be able to shoulder the load? No. Vereen can't. Vereen's your good third down back and pass catching back. You know, Dallas imposed their will on the Giants. And why I picked the Giants in that game, I have no idea. I mean, probably because Eli has played well in that building the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But, you know, Dallas is going to run the rock. And if Elliott's playing, Dallas is going to be tough to beat. You have Bryant on the outside, along with Terrence Williams, and you have Witt in the middle. So Dallas just needs to keep Sean Lee healthy on defense to be able to stay in games and prevent a lot of points.
All right.
But then they also need to do ball control.
Yeah.
And Dak Prescott is keeping the ball on the Cowboys side. He's not giving the ball up. And he is nearing the record for least amount of interceptions in 500 attempts?
Yeah, whatever it is. Okay.
Like that?
Yep. Okay. You were supposed to go into detail in the Minnesota Saint game. So,
yeah, I'll get to that one too. But the Cowboys look legit again, and I mean it could be their division again. They could do another 13-3 year.
I mean, it looks like it. I don't disagree with you on that. Let me just say this about Minnesota. I don't know if the Saints' defense is as good as people think or thought, or Bradford is just playing that much better. But look, if we're going to be intellectually honest here and talk about Alex Smith making a step to the next level and just showing what he can do, as much as it pains me to say, we may have to say the same thing about Sam Bradford. If he has another year like he did a year ago, and if he stays upright, he looked good in this game. Next week's the real test, this week against Pitt. But I got to give credit where credit's due. He looked good. Go.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Sam Bradford, I'll give you one thing, obviously, two things from what I saw and one thing what I've heard today. But Bradford, you can see why Bradford led the league last year in completion percentage. And he was pretty much on point against that Saints defense all day. Now, again, Saints defense, is it good? Is it not good? Well, they play the Patriots this week, so we'll find out what kind of Saints defense there really is, if there is any. But I saw Sam Bradford get sacked and land on his back/shoulder. And I said, oh, there goes Bradford's shoulder, and it was his left shoulder. But he popped right back up. I was like, okay, all right, we'll watch him. We'll see how he is. And today, I heard from a colleague who has a friend close to Kyle Rudolph's wife who said that Bradford played hurt all last year. Now, if you're leading the league in completion percentage and you're hurt all of last year, that says something about, holy cow, like you did that while hurt. Now, I know Rams fans are going to say, well, where was that?
Yeah.
Well, when you have a torn ACL in two different knees, and two knees, you know, that's not going to help you with your completion percentage.
No.
So, but what I saw out of the Vikings is that their defense is going to carry them. Bradford's not going to turn the ball over. I mean, sure, when you go on the road, it's a different story. But darn if Dalvin Cook does not look good. And they got a couple of no-name wide receivers in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. And Kyle Rudolph is a top 7 tight end in the National Football League. So they are going. If they don't fall apart like they did last year, it seems like they started falling apart right after they lost the Monday night game to the Bears, somewhere in the middle of the season. But if they don't take that stumble, they're going to challenge the Packers this year for the division. Will they win it? I don't think they're there yet. Because next year they have a big dilemma: Bradford or Bridgewater. So this is the year they have to make some noise before they get to an organizational crossroads.
Yeah.
And then the Saints, the Saints are going to put up points. Everybody knows that. Drew Brees at 38 still probably feels like he's 28, except when he gets hit.
Well,
he's got weapons, and I'm actually surprised Kobe Fleeter showed up in the game Monday night. So, the Saints are going to be fun to watch offensively. They're going to be dreadful to watch defensively.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't think they made enough improvements on defense like we'd all kind of hoped. But at least if you like the Breeze and Sean Payton. Chargers at Broncos. Like I said, that 3rd and long completion that Phillip Rivers got seemed to really change the momentum. I think the Broncos played that down disinterested, and that was the motivation that the Chargers needed to make it close. But in the end, this team is as in much trouble as we talked about. Phillip Rivers is an unbelievable quarterback who's capable of doing unbelievable things, but he needs a team around him. And Melvin Gordon, as good as he may be, it's hard for me to jump on the Melvin Gordon bandwagon when he gets all of his yardage at weird times. Like the 3rd and 1 he can't get, but he can get, 2nd and 11 on a 15-yard run. I don't, maybe that's because the defense is ready and it isn't, but if that's the case, good luck on those tough yardage situations on the road in the playoffs in cold weather. I mean, that's a problem for San Diego to look at as well. And their offensive line had issues. But I'm not going to get into too much detail on this game, except that it went according to the way we thought it would. And I actually expected Denver to blow them out, and they would have had they stayed interested the entire game. Now, do you want to add anything?
I thought Simeon looked improved from over last year. A lot of last year they did a lot of dinking and dunking. And what they really need to do is get Thomas and Sanders highly involved. I'm not saying he's got to be John Elway or Brett Favre or any of the other gunslinger quarterbacks that have been there, that have been around the National Football League. But I guess if you have the running game, C.J. Anderson looks good. He looks a lot better than he did last year. So the Broncos, if they can keep everybody healthy, because Anderson was hurt last year, Simeon didn't have the, what do I want to say?
Experience?
Thank you. Yes, experience that he has now, and that's what happens with a year under your belt.
Yep.
It's why you're going to say the same thing about Goff when we get to the Rams. Mm-hmm. But when you have that year under your belt, you have that learning, you have that tape, you're going to be able to improve. And Thomas and Sanders are going to get their due. San Diego, I am utterly shocked in a good way that they stayed competitive in that game. And because the Chargers have been known to go into Denver and just completely lay an egg.
Yep.
Rivers isn't getting any younger, but man, if Allen and Gates and Henry and Williams, Tyrell Williams, that is, stays healthy, the Chargers offense is going to be really fun to watch. You already touched on it with Melvin Gordon. He's a firecracker. He just needs to stay healthy at the end of the year, and he's as good as anybody.
All right. We're going to get to the game of the hour. The Rams at the home against the Colts. So, first of all, let me just say that I said this in my rant. I was the only one predicting the Rams to score more than 24 points. There was one other guy. It was an article that was written that somebody showed me on one of my on the 48th or 47th show, who predicted the Rams to win 35-9. Eric. He
35-9?
Yeah, he was damn close. He said it was going to be 35-9 Rams. I said 31-7, something like that. But here's what I noticed. The Rams in the fourth quarter called the dogs off. They called the dogs off. Cooper Kupp could have had 100 yards plus receiving. Watkins could have had 100 yards receiving. Gurley could have rushed for over 150 if they kept, doing their thing. But they kind of eased off the throttle and showed a little bit of mercy, and I'm glad they did. You know how I feel about running up the score on people. But overall, I'm watching that game and I'm going, oh my God, where is this? The Rams scored the most points in a Week 1 game in franchise history since 1954. And yet, everyone acted like this was the expected outcome. And as I said on my rant yesterday, no one picked the Rams to win in a blowout. And now I'm hearing talk like, well, the Colts aren't even a football team, and it's a high school football team is who the Rams played. And, I'm hearing all this crap. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if the Colts are that bad. I don't know if the Rams are that good. But I know one thing. You talk about overreaction on week one. The way people are writing the Colts off and the way the people are writing the Rams as insignificant, I think is a huge mistake. This is starting to feel in the pit of my stomach like 1999 all over again. Here the Rams come in. They beat a team they're supposed to beat by a lot more points than they were supposed to beat them by, with a quarterback that either no one heard of or in this case was unheralded in Jared Goff, and they look good. With the difference is they have a different coach, a rookie head coach, but they have a great running back. They brought in some weapons, and I told you this football team was on the verge if they could just get a few more things. I think they did. I look at this and I'm not overreacting. I'm not saying the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl like the 99 Rams. What I am saying is I think the Rams are a lot better than the media is pretending they are right now, like week one of 1999. That doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl, but it does mean that they're better than people are giving them credit for. I don't care what you think. That football team that played on Sunday looked amazing in comparison to anything we've seen in the last 5 years. And I know the Ramley agrees with me on that. What I saw was Todd Gurley running and pushing piles, which is something he didn't do under Fisher last year. I saw Sammy Watkins taking guys out of the box just like you predicted. I saw Cooper Kupp make the difficult catch. I saw Tyler Higbee improve in his blocking. I saw an offensive line that gave Jared Goff time. And I saw Jared Goff play the way I expect him to play. Better. There will be a game down the road, maybe this week, where he has a drop back. But then he'll look really good again. That's part of being a young quarterback growing in a system. I liked what I saw from the Rams, obviously, but I'm not going to sit here and pound the drum and go undefeated, Rams going to the Super Bowl. Look, the reality is we thought they were a playoff team, or at least I did, and they played like one last week. Because what a playoff team does when they play a bad football team is they don't just beat them, they blow them out. If this was New England 46, Colts 9, we'd be hearing about how glorious and wonderful the New England Patriots are, how spectacular Tom Brady looked, how loaded the Patriots were, how incredibly poised they were to make an undefeated run. But because it was the Rams doing it, well, they played a high school football team. Let's talk about the attendance, because we don't want to talk about the game, because we all look like douche canoes, because we refuse to acknowledge the fact that we look like douche canoes with our picks from last week. That's my 2 cents. Go.
Well, I'll tell you this much. If Andrew Luck was playing, I don't think he throws 2 pick sixes like Tolby does. So you might have less than 40 points. But also, Andrew Luck doesn't play defense either. So the Colts had no answer on defense for anything the Rams did because they put up 32 points on their own on the offensive side. That was what opened my eyes when I was watching the Rams, is that their offense was clicking, that Goff had time, that Gurley had holes, that Kupp was making great catches, and Watkins was doing his thing, taking guys one-on-one, taking them out of the play. Now, the Rams defense, they're going to stifle you. I don't know. I would say this. I don't know how they can get better, but Donald comes back this week. So you know they're going to get better.
Yeah.
So anything that Robert Kelly or Samaje Perine or Chris Thompson or anybody trying to run up that middle or even around the edges when the Redskins are on offense, good luck. That's all I have to say. It's good luck.
Yeah. I mean,
the Colts are not good. Okay? I'm not going to discredit anything the Rams did. They went in, they played football, they beat a team. I don't think they ran up the score at all. Tremaine Johnson played a heck of a game, not allowing anything his way. Okay? Tolson's not even a good backup quarterback.
no.
Gore and Mack had no holes to run through. And when you can't run the ball and when you're throwing incompletions and interceptions, your wideouts, Moncrief and Hilton, are going to be non-existent. The only one who really showed up, and I saw 2 really good catches by Jack Doyle, and he had 44 yards in the first quarter. And he was pretty much not heard from again since.
Yeah.
So the Rams suffocated in Indianapolis was what they had to do. And you know what? I mean, you beat the bad teams. The Rams were a bad team a few years ago, last year, but the Rams are not a bad team this year.
Look, last year,
As far as what I saw.
last year we lost twice to the 49ers, a bad football team. This year we blew this team out 46-9. That right there shows you a difference. And
Oh yeah, absolutely.
what I was so impressed with Tyler Higbee was his run blocking. It was atrocious last year. This year, it was decent. It wasn't great, but you definitely saw improvement. Now, I want to see him get involved more in the passing game, but Everett even looked good on the few times they went to him. But, look, we could spend all day talking about the Ram-Colt game. But what I really want to do is focus now on what to look for in the Ram-Redskin game, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, Eric, we did our Houston-Cincinnati breakdown. Cleveland at Baltimore. I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens. I do think the Browns are improved, and I do think the Browns are going to get a win soon, but going on the road in Baltimore against Joe Flacco and Macklin, we'll see if the Browns have an answer, but I think it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to be the Ravens.
It's going to be the Joe Flacco and Terrence West show. That's all you need to know.
There you go.
Suggs is going to be disruptive on the defensive end, and Cleveland's going to have no answer for anything that defensively that the Ravens throw at them.
Yeah.
So you're going to see, you might see another Ravens shutout.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think the Browns' offense is better than you give them credit for, but I think it's going to be a good game. Buffalo, and I do think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be another close one, maybe 20-17, something like that. I don't expect it to be a shutout or a blowout, but I do think it's going to be a good game. Buffalo at Carolina, on the other hand, blowout city. I think McCaffrey has his first 100-yard game. I think Cam Newton throws for over 300 yards in the pocket, and I think Jonathan Stewart rushes for over 100 yards. And McCaffrey may very well have over 200 yards all-purpose yards in this game.
Yeah, you're going to see LaShawn McCoy get his due, whether it's passing or getting it, whether it's catching passes out of the backfield or running the ball. But they're going to be so far behind after a while. You might actually see Derek Anderson in the fourth quarter. I see the Panthers basically up like 35-13 at one point. Nice.
Okay. Arizona at Indy. Look, Indy looks so bad, I don't know how you pick them. I was watching this guy on YouTube yesterday named Fro Daddy. He's a Colt fan. He's completely distraught right now. And I just want to say one thing to you, Fro, if you happen to catch my show. Look, we've all been there. Your team had a great run for a long, long time, and now you're kind of going through your lull, but you'll get back up on top again, and you know how good luck is. I don't want to bag on the Colts, and I don't want to pile on, but, I mean, if Arizona doesn't beat the Colts, do they beat anybody this year? I got to go with Arizona.
That's a good question. I'm thinking the Cardinals, too. I don't see anything out of Indianapolis right now that shows that they're ready to win a game.
Now, I'm glad we agreed on that one. Tennessee at Jacksonville. I don't believe Jacksonville's as good as they played against Houston. I think that was more Hurricane Harvey than Hurricane Jacksonville defense or Saxonville. I think it's going to be the Tennessee Roadshow. I think the Titans are going to beat Jacksonville by 2 touchdowns. Not 1, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Tennessee goes on the road, wins by, I'm going to say 10. The Jaguars are going to miss Allen Robinson, but I think the Titans have too much. They're going to run the ball with Murray and Henry and throw with Mariota. You're going to see a Titan win, honestly.
Philadelphia at Kansas City. Now, for me, I thought this was going to be a Kansas City blowout, but without Eric Berry, I think this becomes a very good game. I could see Kansas City winning this one 26-20. I'm telling you right now, there isn't another game in the morning going on my television than this one. I am glued from the first to the end of this game because it's going to be that good of a football game. Philadelphia at Kansas City, I'm picking the Chiefs with a slight edge. I do think Cam Newton. I do think that Carson Wentz, you guys know how I feel about him. I've liked him from day one. I think he's a great quarterback. I think Philly is a team on the rise. But Kansas City, they cannot afford to let that momentum they gained from Thursday night slip through their fingers. And I know you agree with me, Eric.
I do. I like Kansas City by a touchdown. What's funny is, I'm going to make this point really quick. How I talked about the Bengals and how playing tonight was good for them. I think having the 10 days off for the Chiefs might, they might start out a little sluggish in the first quarter, but I think they turn it on in quarters 3 and 4 and pull out the game.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you think it might actually hurt them in the end. Okay. Look, New England, New Orleans, I've been going back and forth on this. New England, ultimately for me, however, without Donovan Hightower or Devontae Hightower, I don't see how they stop the Saints in the Dome. I got to go with New Orleans, but I will not be surprised if New England puts up 30 and wins this game by 2 touchdowns. But I also wouldn't be surprised if New England beat them or New Orleans beat them by, 13 points or 10 points. I'm going with New Orleans because they're home in the Dome, and that's a different ball club. And New England has a lot of holes on defense. Your go.
I'm going with the Saints. I like the Saints in the Dome. I don't think it's bad if New England starts out 0-2, but the football world might be on fire on the media of any channel that you turn on because they'll be like, "Oh, the Patriots are 0-2." They'll end up being just fine. Saints, like you said, are a different team in the Dome. Breeze to Thomas, Breeze to Coleman, Breeze to Tommy Lee Lewis, Breeze to Cody Fleeter, and then, of course, every weapon under the sun that Tom Brady has. So Cooks is going to try to do his best to put up 100 or 150 yards this week against that defense. So what's gonna happen. It's just a matter of maybe it comes down to whoever has the ball last wins.
It could be. It could be. Minnesota at Pittsburgh. I'm gonna tell you right now, if Bradford survives this game, I will tip my hat to Sam Bradford. And the Vikings are a team to look out for in 2017. I don't think he is. And if he does, I don't think he's going to look good doing it. I got Pittsburgh, believe it or not, I'm going to say it, routing the Minnesota Vikings in this game.
I'm going with Minnesota.
Against your boys, okay.
I'm going with Minnesota, and here's why. Minnesota can contain Le'Veon Bell, and I don't think Bell will be back for a couple of weeks as far as being himself. You're going to have Roethlisberger throwing the ball around. He always does well throwing the ball in his home stadium. But the Vikings have the defense where they can contain him. And I don't know if Pittsburgh has the defense to contain Dalvin Cook. And you're going to see Kyle Rudolph with a big day, maybe 2 touchdowns. Because the Steelers defense is going to have to focus on Diggs, Thielen, and that's going to leave somebody else open. So
all right.
It's going to be the Kyle Rudolph show.
That's actually the first game we disagree on. Holy crap. All right. That's pretty late in the game for us to disagree. Chicago at Tampa Bay. I'm picking the Buccaneers in this. I know the Bears look good, but I think that's more week one and the unknown. I think now we know, and I think the Buccaneers with the rest, although they could get beat up bad in this game, Eric, it could be a case of the Hurricane Irma? What is its name? I don't even know anymore. There's too many of them. But, it could be the same thing as Hurricane Harvey for the Texans here, but I don't see it. I think the Bucs win.
Yeah, I've heard actually, read a few people who have actually gone, that picked this pretty even, like it could be the Bucs, it could be the Bears. Glennon knows Tampa's defense, but, they played the last 2 years, so the Bucs know the Bears pretty well, and all I'm going to say is this, the Bears played last week and the Bucs didn't, so either the Bears are hurting, which they lost Terrell Freeman, they lost Kevin White, they lost a couple other key personnel, but, the Bucs are healthy, they didn't play, so could they be rusty? Who knows? I look for the Bucs to pull this one out.
All right. Dolphins at Chargers, Miami at the Chargers. By the way, just so you know, in their 22,000-seat stadium, as of this afternoon, there were still 12,000 tickets that needed to be sold. And that's in a 22,000-seat stadium. You're not welcome here, San Diego. And Miami's going to tell them that you're not welcome in your own home stadium either. I expect the Dolphins to win this game because they didn't play yet last week, and the Chargers are playing on short rest, playing on Monday night. And I don't think they're a very good football team right now. I think they've got a lot of holes on defense and a lot of holes on offense. And Cutler, I don't know if he's better than Simeon, but he's definitely not as bad as Simeon. So take that for what it's worth. You had the Dolphins going 8-7. This is a game, one of those I look at and go, they better win. I'm picking the Dolphins over the San Diego Chargers.
Don't get me wrong, I'm actually kind of curious how this game goes, and I actually hope I get it out here. I just kind of want to see Cutler throw that drive-killing interception. I got the Chargers in this game. I liked what I saw out of them Monday night. This is a Dolphins team that was displaced. They've actually been out in the San Diego area practicing for a week and a half. I know they're itching to get out there, but I think San Diego's defense is going to shut down those wide receivers in Parker and Landry. And Cutler's going to have a lot of hard time throwing the ball, but San Diego's offense is going to move that ball no problem.
We'll see. The Jets at Oakland. I think the Raiders win this one 42-0. I don't need to say anything about this game. Amari Cooper has over 100 yards receiving. Marshawn Lynch gets his first 100-yard game in over a year. Raiders in a rout.
Yeah, Raiders blow out the Jets. I mean, they might as well just stay in New York and play their video game, but yeah, there's no way Oakland lose this game.
No. San Francisco at Seattle. I'm skipping the Ram game for right now. I think Seattle wins this game handily. I think the Niners are a long way away, but again, the future looks good for that football team. But just right now, it's a tough road to hoe when you got to play Carolina. Then, and by the way, their stadium was half empty too. Talk about that later. And then you got to play the Seahawks in a physical football game, and then the following week on a short day, on short rest, you've got to play the Rams, another physical football team. It's a rough opening for San Francisco. I got Seattle winning.
Yeah, Seattle, easy win.
Yep. Dallas at Denver. Now, I'm telling you, I've been going back and forth on this game. I don't flip the channel when the Rams are on. But guess what? I'm flipping the channel this week. Commercials, I'm going to the friggin' Bronco-Cowboy game. I'm excited to see this one. It kind of has that 1986 matchup when these two teams played in 86 feel to it. Dallas at the time was really good. Denver was really good. Denver was expected to be a good team that year. Dallas was expected to return to the top of the NFC East. It was this really good matchup between two solid teams, and it was a fun game to watch. And there's a lot of great players like Ezekiel Elliott, C.J. Anderson, the Broncos defense against the Cowboys secondary, which I think is much improved. You've got Trevor Siemian, who I think is going to be a really good quarterback. If he isn't, Brock Osweiler will replace him, and Denver fans will thank me for that later. But if he is as good as I think he can be, here's a 7th-round pick coming out of nowhere, tearing it up. This is going to be a fun game to watch. I got Denver winning because they're home, and Denver's record at home is completely ridiculous. And I just think the mile-high altitude, Dallas coming in after a physical game against a division opponent on Sunday night, I think the Broncos are going to be primed, poised, and ready to rock.
Yeah, I like the Broncos in this game. I think they find a way to limit Ezekiel Elliott. They force Dak to throw it. I like the Broncos' offense against the Dallas defense. So we'll see. It should be a really good game. I'm looking forward to it, but I think the Broncos pull this one off by field goal. Yeah,
I'm thinking like 24-21 type of thing. Green Bay at Atlanta. First Sunday night game in almost a year. Almost a year that I'm actually excited to watch. If Atlanta wins this game by 10 points or more, book their ticket to the Super Bowl because they're going to the show. All right? And remember I said that. I don't know if they're going to win by 10, but they are going to win. I'm picking the Falcons because in that dome, that offense is absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah, the new place is going to be rocking. Mercedes-Benz, actually, they're naming it, kind of like the Superdome in New Orleans.
Yep.
But I think they're going to be excited to open up that new facility. It looks great by all accounts. I think the Atlanta's firepower is too much for Green Bay. Rematch of playoffs last year. I like Atlanta in this game. I don't want to put too much of a score on it. 9.5. There we go. Over under.
Nice. Now, look, I think this is the NFC Championship game part 2. And at the end of 2017, when they actually play in the NFC Championship game, it'll be part 3. I think they're going to play each other again at the end of the year. Detroit at New York, Monday night. Odell Beckham will be back. That's my prediction. I think the Giants are able to open up their offense a little bit more. Detroit can't stop the run. Let me start over. Detroit can't stop the pass, although they had a good game, but that's because Carson Palmer kept throwing it to him. They have an offensive line problem, and they have a running game problem. What do the Giants have? An offensive line problem and a running game problem. This is going to be a fun Monday night game to watch. I really am excited to watch this game because I don't think it's two bad teams. I think it's two average teams trying to figure out how they can muster through a schedule and get enough wins to get in. I think New York's a wild card team. But if they lose this game at home to Detroit, like the Eagles taking the Redskins out of the equation and making it, you could see Detroit take the Giants out and be the one to make it. So this is a big game for a Week 2 Monday night game, and I'm excited to watch it. But I got the Giants winning 24-20 over the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, Lions aren't that great when they leave the dome, so 24-10 Giants.
Wow. All right. 24-10 Giants. Now, LA Rams at home against the Washington Redskins. I'm in seventh heaven because I get to watch my two favorite teams play. But make no mistake about it, Ramily, if the Rams don't win this game, I'm going to be pissed. I'm not going to sit there and go, well, at least the Redskins won. No, hell with that. Redskins play my team. They need to lose, and they need to lose hard. And I got to say that quiet because my wife might actually hear me. So I'm going to keep that quiet because if she hears me, I'm going to die. She's going to – hold on. Hold on. I'm not done. She may kill me. She may literally kill me, so I have to keep this down.
Hold on. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to hide it from my wife because she's a Redskins fan. So, go.
Are you still recording?
Oh, yeah, I'm recording. I'm just keeping it down because I don't want her to hear me because she's a Redskins fan and she'll kill me. So, go Rams! Okay, now.
I was wondering what you were doing.
I know you couldn't see it. Okay, look. Ultimately, here's what we look for. If Todd Gurley can't run the ball, if he runs the ball like he did against the Detroit Lions, against the Indianapolis Colts, we're in trouble. I'm telling you, we're in trouble. We cannot ask Jared Goff with Norman out there on the outside and Sua Cravens on the other side at safety to be able to play the same type of defense that the Indianapolis Colts did. We need Watkins to take the top off, get the eighth guy out of the box, and Gurley has to run the ball this week. I'm nervous, E, because this is the one team that can beat the Rams in the first 3 games of their schedule. And it's also a good test. I think offensively, here's what you look for in the first quarter. Is Tyler Higbee involved in the offense? Is Everett involved in the offense? Are they moving the ball? If at the end of the first half, I don't care what the score is as long as it's manageable. Even if the Rams are losing, they better not be losing by more than 3 points, 7 points. But let's say they're losing. Are they converting third down, and what is their yards per carry average? If that's up, the Rams should have no problem in the second half. I actually do think the Rams are going to run the ball because I think they're going to come out throwing. This is just a gut feeling. I have no idea what the Rams' game plan is. But I think they're going to come out with play-action pass. They're going to hit Kupp. They're going to try to go up top and hit Watkins. Even if they don't convert it, it's a good call because then they will loosen it up, hit the tight ends underneath, and then start running Todd Gurley. And look, Aaron Donald is going to wreck the middle of that Redskins offensive line and get in Kirk Cousins' face. And Cousins isn't good with pressure up the middle. I think the Rams are going to win this game, but this is going to be one of those nip and tuck all the way to the end type football games. It may be like the Philadelphia Redskin game, where it comes down to a turnover at the end of the game with the Rams up by 1 score. They get a fumble or a turnover, and they run out the clock and win the football game. I don't expect this to be a 46-9 route, and I don't think anybody in the Ramily out there does. But I do think the Rams can win this game, but they're going to need all hands on deck, and I think that they got that confidence last week, and I think you're going to see Higbee involved more in the offense as well as Gerald Everett, the 2 tight ends. And I do think you're going to see Todd Gurley run the ball a bit more and get involved in the passing game, whether it's screen passes or dump passes. He proved he can do some stuff after the catch. I'm so excited to watch this game, but I am going to pick the Rams because I do think they're the better team right now, and I think the Redskins have a lot of timing issues they need to work on, and I don't know if a week is enough time to do it. Your analysis, E.
Well, I think the Rams defense is going to come up big, but before I get into too much, I can't do my rant. I got to go after I say this. But I think you're going to see the Rams suffocate the Redskins the Redskins offense. I think you're going to see Cousins with not a lot of time to throw. So you're going to see a lot of dump offs. You're going to see a lot of 3-and-outs. The Rams are going to do just enough to win this game. So you're looking at a 14-10, 17-14 type game.
Oh, wow, you're going with a score. I'm not going to go with a score, but I do think it's going to be either between 5 and 8 points type of football game, and we'll see how it unfolds. Well, listen, you don't have to do your rant, but I'm just going to do mine really quick. So let me just say this. The Rams, this wasn't mentioned. Week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts, did you know that the LA Dodgers were playing at the exact same time?
I didn't, but as I mentioned, I got to run. So good luck to your Rams this week. I'll catch your rant on the flip side.
All right.
But I gotta get going. But good luck to the Rams this week, and I'll be rooting for them.
All right. E out. Thanks, E.
All right, later, guys.
Okay. The Rams, and this is courtesy of a fan. Forgive me, I forgot your name. So post your name, post a comment on this one, and I'll make sure I give you the kudos that you need in the next show, the 51st episode. But he mentioned that the Dodgers were playing at the same time. You want to know why 10,000 people fewer showed up? Maybe they bought tickets to Chavez Ravine and didn't think that, didn't know how the Dodgers were going to be playing that at that time and decided to go to the game. There are so many reasons that the Rams could have had low attendance, but what really irritates me on this is the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers also had crap attendance, and nobody talked about it. Only LA. Guys, look, they're going to do this all the time. If you want them to knock it off, you need to go to the games. And if you don't go, just know they're going to use this as a cudgel on you every single time. I know the Ramley's going to respond. If not in week 2, certainly when we come back after playing Dallas in week 4 and being 3-1, or maybe even 4-0 for that game when they return. But we got to get out there, and we will. But let's not pretend. Let's stop for a minute pretending like the fans aren't going to the games. As I said in my rant, they had more than enough butts in the seats, and it's completely excusable knowing that the Dodgers are playing the same day at the same time why people might not have gone to the Ram game. Okay? Let's be totally honest. So I'm not going to go too crazy because I already did a mini rant. Well, more than a mini rant last one. So, guys, I hope you like the show. I hope you agree with our picks. If you're a fan of one of the teams we picked, good luck this week. If you're a fan of one of the teams we picked against, don't take offense. Good luck this week. Just play some good football, and there's always reason to hope. And, go Rams. Going to love this week. It's going to be fun. 50th episode wrapped up. Big 5-0. Excited. Get me some more subscribers if you guys want, and don't hesitate to comment down below. Go Rams, and that's a wrap for LA Rams Central. See you later. Bye.